Saved from scrap. There is a scrapyard near Edward Station. People come from all over to leave their rusty old machinery and items past their prime to be broken up. The pieces are loaded into trucks, which Edward takes to the steelworks. From there, the pieces are melted down and used again. One morning, Edward arrived as usual and waited for his trucks to be filled up. As he was waiting, he mused over the jobs he'd be doing for the rest of the day. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden fit of coughing to his left. Edward looked toward the source of the sound. It was a traction engine. He was covered in muck, dust, and cobwebs, but otherwise seemed in fairly good condition. He looked over to Edward, gave him a sad smile, and coughed up a cobweb that had entered his mouth while he wasn't looking. "Hello," said Edward. "You're not broken and rusty. What are you doing here?"
"I'm Trevor," the traction engine sighed. "They're going to break me up next week."
Edward was horrified. "What a shame!" he cried. "My driver's over there," Trevor said, looking in the direction of a man furiously arguing with the scrapyard owner.
Jem Cole, he's called. He says all I need is paint, polish and oil to be as good as new, but my master wants rid of me. He thinks I'm too old-fashioned to keep around the place and that he'd make some decent money from destroying me."
Edward snorted. "People think I'm old-fashioned, but I don't care. The Fat Controller says I'm really useful. That's what matters."
"Well, that's what Jem says about me," Trevor replied. "Always useful, always needed. If I got ill, I'd carry on with my work, unlike those tractor things. They give up the first sign of a faulty engine. I keep at it and finish a job. Never broken down in my life." And now they're gonna break me up. Kinda morbidly ironic, isn't it?
"Out of curiosity, what work did you do?" Edward asked.
Well, my master would send us to farms to help with our workload. Threshing corn, hauling logs, sawing timber, all that kind of thing. Nice work, if you can get it. The farmers were dependent on us, and we didn't let them down. We went down well with their families as well. Aye. The kids thought it was funny seeing someone like me still in service after all these years, but then again, I suppose they're used to the tractors.
"Did you ever get time off?" Edward asked.
"Oh, yes. Jem would hitch a cart to the back and all the local kiddos would get in and ask for a joyride, whatever that means. Then we'd take them up and down the meadows. They liked that. Got to see all sorts of things they had never seen before. Aye, they were nice. I miss those days."
As Edward went back to work, he pondered Trevor's situation.
Broken up, what a shame. Broken up, what a shame.
The thought of Trevor being destroyed for 30 pieces of silver wasn't a pleasant one. Edward, his driver, and his fireman all agreed that Trevor needed saving. Edward had lots of friends, but despite them liking engines, none of them had any room for a traction engine. "It's a shame, he hissed, as he brought his afternoon train to the station. He looked along the platform.
Why didn't we think of him before?
There, standing on the platform with his two little boys, was the local vicar. "Morning, Charlie. Morning, Sid," he called to Edward's driver and fireman. "Hello, Edward. Why do you look so upset?" "We found a traction engine in the scrapyard," Charlie explained. "He'll be broken up next week." "Jem Cole says he never drove a better engine," Sid added. "Coming from him, that's high praise." "Is he still alive?" asked the vicar. "Yes," Charlie replied.
"Please save him, you've got room,"
Edward pleaded. The vicar laughed. "Yes, Edward, I've got room, but I don't need a traction engine." Edward became desperate.
"He saw his word, he gives rides, he'll haul logs. Anything you ask for, he'll do it. Come rain or shine, or in sickness and in health. At least think about buying him, sir."
The vicar didn't look so sure, but his children had already made up their minds.
"Can we see him, Dad?" they asked. "It's worth a shot."
The vicar smiled. "We'll see," and he climbed into the train. Jem Cole returned to the scrapyard on Saturday. "The Reverend's coming to see you, Trevor," he said. "Maybe he'll buy you." Trevor's eyes lit up.
"Do you think he will?"
he asked, hopefully. "He will when I've lit your fire and cleaned you up," Jem smiled. Edward arrived that evening, bringing with him the vicar and his children. Trevor's green paint shone like new, and he was happily blowing off steam. The vicar was impressed. The boys thought he was the coolest thing they'd ever seen. Jem drove Trevor up and down the yard. Trevor hadn't felt this happy in months. The vicar watched with interest. Presently he joined Jem at the wheel. "Show your paces, Trevor," he called, before having a go at driving Trevor himself. The vicar seemed satisfied with the demonstration, and after much pleading from his two little boys, went into the scrap merchant's office. Trevor and Jem waited with bated breath. After a few minutes, the vicar returned. "I've got him cheap, Jem! Cheap!" Jem turned excitedly to Trevor. "Did you hear that, Trevor? The vicar's bought you!" Trevor was so elated he nearly cried. "Drive him home for me, Jem," said the vicar, "and take those two scallywags with you." So Jem drove Trevor and the boys back to the vicarage. They loved every moment of it. Trevor now lives in the vicarage orchard. It's close to the railway, so Edward sees Trevor every day. The vicar ensures Trevor is always in the best condition. His paint is spotless and his brass shines like gold. Trevor wouldn't have it any other way. He saws firewood in the winter and is the star attraction of the vicarage fete in the summer. Jem is now under the vicar's employ, and he and Trevor have a wonderful time doing whatever odd jobs or transport is required of them. During the fete, adults and children alike congregate in his trailer, and he chuffers about the orchard as happy as Larry. The glory days may be behind him, but he doesn't care. He's just happy he escaped the scrap merchant's blade, and it's all thanks to his new friend, Edward.